Okay, Twitch is live. YouTube is live as well. Perfect. Right, both are live. Cool. Okay, second stream. I actually got the title fixed this time around. Also got the description fixed. Unfortunately, those weren't fixed in the last stream. Thankfully, the stream on YouTube is editable. I didn't check the Twitch one. I'll probably edit that one after the stream. I'll do that. But we're around a minute in. I'm not really going to waste much time. There's actually a decent amount of articles that came out. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise that I took that break to eat. So let's just jump straight in. So we're going to start with this one. That's Intel vs AMD, which CPUs are better in 2025. Now, I would personally say that it depends on your use case. So let's say you are a 1440p or 4K gamer. I would say that it doesn't matter if you choose Zen 5 or Arrow Lake CPUs. I would say that you won't see much of a performance disparity between those two at those resolutions, at max settings obviously. Now, I would say that let's say you want a more efficient computer, I would say go AMD. AMD is still more efficient, especially the X3D chips. Now, if I'm talking about 1080p, competitive gaming, you're playing on low settings probably at 1080p and you want the highest FPS possible, obviously that would be AMD X3D CPUs. They're not that cheap, but Arrow Lake isn't that cheap either. So at that point, AMD wins. So it's a 1-0 in AMD's favor at that point. On the laptop side of things, I would say go with AMD again, purely because I am not too informed on the laptop side of things, how their mobile processors are. I'm not sure if their 13th and 14th gen have the same vulnerability that the 13th and 14th gen desktop variants had with the failures in their CPUs due to the microcode issue. What I can say about AMD is that AMD has made strides in their APUs. If you get a Strix point, you'll enjoy it. You get the Zen 4 with the 780M, you would enjoy your gaming experience with that. Even with the 680M, you would somewhat have a somewhat enjoyable experience with all of those in a lightweight gaming scenario. But for general computing, I would say still AMD, just because I'm not sure of the reliability of Intel. On top of that, AMD tends to lead in the efficiency side of things, which is very important when it comes to a laptop and speccing out a laptop and determining which one you want, because battery life at the end of the day is important. So you're looking for the best CPUs for gaming, the best workstation CPU, or just one for of the best budget CPUs. There are only two choices, AMD and Intel. The fact that has spawned and mostly just following with both camps and the resulting AMD vs Intel flame wars make it tricky to get unbiased advice about the best choice for your next processor. But in many cases the answer is actually very clear. AMD's chips win for most users looking for the best balance of performance in both gaming and productivity at a more accessible price point. Additionally, AMD's lineup of specialized X3D CPUs is the hands-down winner for the PC focused on gaming. This part is incorrect because X3D only matters in a CPU bottleneck scenario, which, let's say you're rocking a 4060 Ti or a 4070 Ti even, you are not maxing out your CPU if you're gaming at 1440p. If you have a 5090, you might max out your CPU at 1440p. There's a chance of that happening. But if you're not rocking a 5090 or a 4090, then there's no reason to have an X3D CPU at 1440p and higher. This article covers the never-ending argument of AMD versus Intel desktop CPUs. We're not covering a laptop or server chip, so they're just speaking about desktop. If it's just desktop, then we are in AMD, unfortunately. They are cheaper. We judge the chips on 5 criteria based on what you plan to do with your PC: pricing, performance, driver support, power consumption, and security. AMD has been rolling out some security updates because they had, and this is in the BIOS, they've had some vulnerabilities to the CPU itself, which they have been fixing. So I'm not sure, I have not seen any articles of Intel doing the same thing. So I would suspect that Intel is in a better state as far as that's concerned, giving us a clear view of the state of the competition. We'll also discuss the process nodes and architectures influencing the moving goalposts. However, each brand has its strengths and weaknesses, so which CPU brand should you buy depends mostly on what blend of features, price, and performance is important for you. Intel Arrow Lake Ultra 200S series builds on Intel's hybrid architecture formula but leverages a new design philosophy that contains gaming performance. However, the chips do provide strong performance in single and multi-threaded productivity workloads, along with improved efficiency. AMD's answer is the Zen 5 Ryzen 9000 series. These chips debuted with the fizzle of on the gaming front, but subsequent firmware and operating system updates have improved overall performance significantly. I have not seen an article that actually states this, so I would not count this sentence, making these chips the bang for the buck leader for most users looking for a balanced system. If you want balanced, in all honesty, just get a 7500F and you'll have the CPU power you need. AMD's powerful gaming optimized Ryzen 9000 X3D models utilize a breakthrough 3D chip stacking tech to lead in gaming performance, as you can see in our 9800 X3D review. That finds the 9800 X3D to be the fastest gaming CPU on the planet, bar none, at 1080p. This is something that needs to be very much highlighted whenever speaking about the best CPU in the industry, because in gaming at least you have to mention the resolution that you are playing at, because there's not as big of a discrepancy between CPUs, at least modern CPUs, at the higher resolutions. AMD has also leveraged this X3D tech with its older architectures to make incredibly value-centric gaming chips, like the Ryzen 5600 X3D. It was introduced with the Zen 3 CPUs, so that's a bit misleading of what they're doing. The gains in gaming performance were phenomenal, so much so the competition against Intel chips isn't even close, giving AMD a walk-in touchdown for gaming PCs at 1080p. Again, at 1440p the difference is really not that big. At 4K there's barely anything at all. At that point it comes down to how your CPU is leveraging the other tasks that happen within a game rather than handling the frame rate. AMD's relentless onslaught with its Zen-based processors has redefined our expectations for both the mainstream desktop and the HEDT markets, originally catching Intel flat-footed as it remained mired on the 14nm process. and Skylake architectures due to the execution challenges. The past several years have been AMD CPUs go from value-focused and power-hungry chips to designs that deliver more cores, more performance, and low power requirements than Intel's competing chips, especially in gaming. Intel fought back by slowly adding features and cores across its product stack, resulting in negative side effects, like more power consumption and heat, that only highlighted the company's struggles on the design and the fabrication side of its operation. AMD isn't taking the challenge lying down, as its new lineup of 4nm Ryzen 9000 X3D chips use the company's new 2nd-gen 3D V-cache tech to impart tremendous gains in gaming performance, giving AMD the lead in sheer gaming performance. In terms of the 2nd-gen technology, it's just the 3D V-cache is now at the bottom instead of at the top, because the 3D V-cache was insulating the CPU so that temperature issues. Now it's overclockable. Let me scroll up a bit more. This is actually a beefy article. Intel's chips also hold the crown on overclockability for both core and memory frequencies, and not by a small margin. If you spend the cache on the Z series motherboard, you'll obtain far more overclocking headroom than you'll get with the Ryzen 9000 chips. You can see an example in our how to overclock a CPU feature. An AMD processor is the better choice depending on your needs, like if you prize stability, lowest power consumption, or forward compatibility with your motherboard for more chip generations. AMD also has amazing gaming performance on tap with its X3D chips, and they don't suffer from lower performance in productivity applications like they used to. Asterisk, only if you are on the Zen 5 X3D CPUs do you not see this reduction in productivity performance. They do cost a premium, but they are the non-compromise solution for leading performance in both disciplines. Correct. Well, if you had 1080p, it's correct. For now, if you want the best blend of gaming application performance, all within reasonable power consumption envelope, not to mention forward compatibility with your existing motherboard, Team Red deserves your hard-earned dollars. That is absolutely correct. Pricing is most important consideration for almost everyone, and AMD has generally been hard to beat in the value department. The company's standard Ryzen 9000 series models often sell below MSRP, as they should, with the flagship 9950X often selling for 100 less than its suggested retail price, as it should. The company's gaming optimized X3D chips do come at a premium, but those models provide more than enough gaming performance to justify the price tag if you had 1080p. In contrast, Intel's Core Ultra 200S series processors tend to stubbornly hover around the MSRP. While they hold their advantages in productivity performance, it isn't enough to justify the markup. Additionally, their severely lagging gaming performance makes them a tough sell against AMD's X3D gaming lineup. It's simply a no contest. Over here we can see the prices. Obviously Threadripper and Xeon chips are ridiculously priced, but that's to be expected. So your Ryzen 9 versus your i9s, your Ryzen 9s valley much lower than Intel, but they peak much higher than Intel as well. The same can be said about the Ryzen 7 and i7. They both AMD is again a lower value but also a higher peak. The same is said about, oh no, the same is not said about the Ryzen 5. The Ryzen 5 is actually cheaper than the at peak it's cheaper than the peak of Intel, coming just $9 over the value of the Intel i5 chip. As for the Ryzen 3 and i3, I haven't seen a Ryzen 3 in a really long time, so this is technically still Zen 4, I mean not Zen 4, excuse me, there's still Zen 3. AMD Ryzen 3. The latest Ryzen 3 that we have is supposed to be on Zen 3. We have over here. This is a laptop product, so it doesn't count because the article is specifically about desktop models. So this is a bit skewed in an unfair manner going for the Ryzen 3 because the latest Ryzen 3 is on AM4. It's not on the latest AM5. While the Core i3 is technically on Arrow Lake as well, so it's not much of a comparison to make in that regard. AMD still freely allows overclocking on all chips and on all chip models and all but its A series motherboards, which is a boon for enthusiasts. At the end of the day, most people aren't overclocking anymore. They would instead undervolt in today's times. Meanwhile, Intel still charges a premium for its overclockable K series, but you'll also need to shell out for a pricey Z series motherboard for the privilege of overclocking your processor. Intel doesn't follow full overclocking on B or H series motherboards, but has enabled memory overclocking on its B and H series though. Again, most people aren't overclocking, they are instead undervolting their CPUs if they are on more modern hardware. As for the expensive Z series motherboards, the same can be said about AM5. They're still pretty pricey. If you're talking about the 800 series motherboards that were nothing but a refresh with Thunderbolt 4 support on them. Moving on, both Intel and AMD include a bundle cooler with their downstream SKUs, the non-K and the non-X for AMD, but Intel's coolers are flimsy and good enough at best. We've even seen cases where Intel stock coolers don't provide performance at stock settings. AMD in contrast has solid coolers that often even provide a bit of headroom for overclocking. This is very misleading because it's technically the cooler with the 7700 non-X that is the superior included CPU cooler, but the 7600 non-X is the one that can sometimes struggle to cool that CPU. So this is a very misleading sentence that's being made in this article. Intel has slightly bulked up its coolers, but the static slight thermal improvements aren't enough to match AMD's competent coolers. They aren't available on all models. The same can be said about AMD, honestly. Pricing isn't entirely dictated by what you pay for the chip, though. We also factor in the platform pricing. Intel's Arrow Lake chips drop into the same LGA 1851 interface that isn't backward compatible with prior Intel chips, and there's no guarantee it will support next gen options. It's kind of confirmed that it's not going to either, which means you'll probably have to buy a new board if you want to upgrade in the future. AMD supported its AM4 socket for 5 generations of chips. No, it did not. It went for 3 generations. And while that platform will live on for some time, with the Ryzen 5000 chips slotting in as valuable alternative to the company's new AM5 houses its newest Ryzen 7000 chips. AMD says it will support the socket until 2025 plus, so it's possible that we'll enjoy a similar longevity to AM4, thus giving enthusiasts a long upgrade path. I suspect that Zen 6 will be the last generation on AM5, and then they'll switch to AM6 for their Zen 7 products. However, this statement is extremely misleading, saying that it was 5 generations. Zen 1 was pretty much not a... It was definitely an improvement over Pile Driver and Bulldozer, but in the grand scheme of things of the Ryzen lineup, it was really not that good to Intel at that time. It was very competitive though. It gave you more cores and such. And then you have Zen Plus, which is not a new architecture, it's just Zen 1 Plus. And then you have your Zen 2, and then you had your 4000 series chips, which were technically based off of Zen Plus and not Zen 2. Then you had your 5000 series chips, and those chips were the final chips for the Zen 4 motherboards. So yeah, it's very misleading with the way they do that. It's almost as misleading as AMD saying it's releasing new CPUs on AM4 even in 2024. When they released those XT CPUs, which was a blatant lie. Those were not new CPUs, those were slightly overclocked 5800X and 5900X variants. AMD followed Intel in exiting the high-end market, the high-end desktop segment entirely, marking the end of an era. Now you'll have to step up to workstation class processors from both companies to attain more cores and connectivity, as seen in our Threadripper Pro 5000 series. In either case, AMD owns the performance tier for the best CPUs for workstation. That is absolutely correct. So it can charge eye-watering premiums as a result, and it does, definitely. There's car money in Threadripper. The company even excluded its lowest price Threadripper models from retail, creating a 2400 bar for entry. That puts workstation chips far out of reach of the majority of enthusiasts. Our winner is AMD. Okay, I won't even really go over it. Over here, some benchmarks on Tom's hardware. We have, what is this? Geomean at 1080p. X3D is obviously leading the chart. 4900K is coming in close to the middle, slightly beating out the 7900 X3D, but that's a dual CCD chipset, so not chipset, CPU, so it has its latency between the CCD handover. Interestingly enough, this is all at 1080p, testing on a 4090. Is that all? Yeah, this is the productivity segment. The X3D chips get further ahead, which is a bit funny because technically they are just a non X3D variant, but with more cache, and they are more efficient at the end of the day. Single threaded performance is Intel. This was multi-threaded. And no, this is Cinebench. This isn't productivity, this is a synthetic. I thought that they would do like Blender rendering, Adobe video editing, that sort of thing. But they aren't. They really aren't. Here we go, here's the premium pricing. Even then, a 9700X is still much cheaper than a 285K. And I'm mentioning that because the 285K is an 8-core part. Here we go, 8P core, 16E core CPU, whereas AMD's 9700X is an 8-core 16-thread. So it's really a better comparison in terms of core to core, and in terms of price to price, you'll be paying for like a 9950X, I think. Where is that? 9950X is about $10 more than the 285K in terms of MSRP. AMD is historically below MSRP, which is funny because whenever they launch a new CPU, it's ridiculously priced, and then eventually the pricing settles down. I don't think. Okay. Let me. Actually, no, let me not. I was gonna go into restream for something, but I'll drop it for now and check it later. Anyway, moving over. This is a really long article, if I'm being completely honest. Lots of info, no graphs. I need my graphs. They are graphs, but they're not good graphs. I disagree with the overclocking section. I would rather say it's either a tie or a win for AMD. Just because Intel sets base speeds so much higher, so much lower than actually achievable speeds, so they can slap on a ridiculously low TDP, doesn't mean they're better overclockers. It means Intel wants a low number to mislead people as to the efficiency. You can buy a Ryzen 5 1600 on Amazon right now for $85, which is a 6-core 12-thread processor and fully unlocked. The Core i3 9100F for comparison is 100 less than Amazon, only has 4 cores, 4 threads. For the value of the Ryzen 1600 with games and programs using more cores, it's obvious that the Ryzen series is much better value than Intel. Even the Intel family realizing competition from AMD, they will be making better and more affordable CPUs for consumers. At the end of the day, the Zen 1, I wouldn't say Zen 1 is worth buying in 2025. I would say Zen 2, you can argue that you can get that. I would specifically recommend going for Zen 3 if you have to stay on AM4, which I don't mind recommending AM4, I really don't. I would recommend AM4 if you intend to upgrade from AM4 to AM6 when that releases, because we are essentially in the middle of AM5 from what I can tell. If the platform is to have the same amount of generations as AM4 did, then AM5 is in the middle of its life cycle. So I would say if you are building a PC from scratch and you intend to switch over to Zen 6 when it comes, not Zen 6, AM6 when it comes out, I would say get an AM4 CPU. I would only recommend, my throat, hang on. I would only recommend a Zen 5, not Zen 5, a AM5 over AM4 if you intend to go to AM6, is if you go for the Zen 4 products and you keep away from Zen 5 and the eventual Zen 6. If you keep away from those products and you just take Zen 4 and you stay on that until AM6 arrives and then you upgrade to AM6, then I would say go with that. If you can get the AM5 system for cheaper than the AM4 system. But if you can't get it for much cheaper, it's fine to stay on AM4. AM4 is still plenty powerful. Especially, I should specify the Zen 3 of AM4 is plenty powerful still. AMD tracking tech proposed by US lawmakers in smuggling crackdown. Here we go, guys. Got AMD, not AMD, Nvidia cracking down on the smuggling that's happening in China. So US congressman and physicist Bill Foster plans to introduce a bill that will require advanced AI chip makers like Nvidia to include a built-in location reporting system. According to Reuters, this system will use existing and readily available technology to find the general country-level location of an AI chip. I do not think it's going to stop at country level, but it is what it is. In fact, two sources say that Alphabet is using something similar to track the location of its in-house Tensor AI chips across all its data centers to protect against theft and other security breaches. The White House under both the Biden and Trump administrations has been enforcing bans against the export of advanced chips to China since 2022. It has been doing this to limit its rival accessing cutting-edge technology and help ensure the US dominance in the AI technology. Washington even recently expanded the export controls to include previously allowed chips like the MI308 and the H20, resulting in an 800 million and 5.5 billion write-off for AMD and Nvidia respectively. However, the bans and sanctions have been criticized for being ineffective, with the former US Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo calling them a fool's errand. We've had verified reports of Chinese businesses smuggling advanced chips into mainland China, and the company behind DeepSeek, one of China's most advanced AI models, is accused of using smuggled Nvidia AI chips. Even the US Senate found that the Bureau of Security and Industry, the agency in charge of export controls, was sorely lacking in resources and relied on voluntary compliance from chip makers. Rep Foster's proposal aims to solve this issue by acquiring AI chips to communicate with a secure computer server whenever they go online. According to the source, the time difference between the chip sends the signal when the server receives it is enough to determine its rough location. Reuters claims the independent technical experts say that the proposal by the congressman, who is former particle physicist, has a doctorate in physics from Harvard University, is feasible and could potentially work. So they're probably talking about the supercomputer GPUs, and the counter that I would have towards that is, if you want to prevent any CPUs from going to, not CPUs, any supercomputer GPUs, the cutting edge AI based GPUs to go to China, simply banning them and tracking them isn't enough. They need to implement fines, significant fines, to any of the people who are, for one, the smugglers should be jailed, because it would be technically illegal. And secondly, the companies that allow this to happen need to be fined. And it's when you have punishments in place that you are able to observe the behavior that you want. Sure, there's laws, but laws really don't carry much weight without punishment. For example, jaywalking is technically illegal, but everyone jaywalks, and everyone jaywalks because they don't get punished for jaywalking, despite it being illegal. So the law can be there, but unless there's a punishment for said law, that law will just be broken. So you can have whatever legislation that you want, but if there's no punishment to coincide with transgressions towards that legislation, then that legislation will not be respected. However, the congressman from Illinois wants to go beyond that. He also wants the chips to stop booting if they detect that they do not have the proper export licenses. This would be significantly more technically challenging than just finding a chip's location, but the representative said that we have more detailed discussions with the actual chip and module providers to know how to implement it. Requiring these technologies to be built into chips will likely get some pushback, especially when the privacy is called into question. Nevertheless, this bill has reportedly bipartisan support, with representatives from both sides of the aisle supporting the concept. I do not I don't really agree with the approach that the USA is taking to restrict access to AI chips to China. I don't think simply banning them is going to be a good long-term solution. I think that it's a short-term win for a long-term loss, because China has cheaper labor at the end of the day, and it has more, how do I put it? It has more brutal working conditions compared to the US, and said brutal conditions aren't really protested against on a large enough scale. So with that in mind, it will be cheaper for them to manufacture their own AI chips, and it's only a matter of time before their fabrication processes catch up to what the USA has available to them. And sure, there aren't really any definite solutions to ensuring that you remain a leader in the market, but at the end of the day, banning your best brand from another country is only asking for that country to create a competitor to your own brand, which would eventually lead you to either fall behind or be completely overlapped in the market that China has. Because at the end of the day, China is still a large market. Okay, Radeon RX 9060 XT listed by a retailer in Brazil, 16GB triple fan model from Gigabyte, detailed without pricing. So I went over this in the previous stream actually, where this was listed, and it was listed with the 850 watt PSU requirement, but I suspect it'll be a 650. That was probably just a typo. So here we go. Here's the specs. So it'll have 2048 shader units of RDNA 4. It'll be clocked at 3.23 gigahertz. It'll have either 16 or 8 GB GDDR6. Bandwidth is obviously suffering at 320 gigabytes per second. The TGP will be under 200 watts. The MSRP is unknown, and the launch is for May 2025. Adding into this, in that article it mentioned a suspected 850 watt. It would be nice if they announced a 9080 XT 24 gigabyte. That would be cool. Considering that the 9070 XT is a decently chunky die, there's only so much that they can get away with in terms of performance. They will probably get within spitting distance of the 5080, if I'm being completely honest, and having the 24 gigabytes will help, but when a 5080 Super is released, it will just close that gap in VRAM. It'll have 24 gigabytes as well. Intel's Core Ultra 7 265K drops to $300 across various retailers. It's a 25% cut versus the MSRP. And this is good to see because it's also not a good thing at the same time, because technically Intel can't get the margins that they could have gotten because, yeah, they didn't get the same discounts from TSMC. In a bid to improve Arrow Lake sales, Intel significantly discounted the mainstream to 20 core? That's not a 20 core. Core Ultra 7 265K, which is readily selling at or below $300 at various retailers, including Amazon. That's a massive 25% cut over its original $400 recommended customer price set by Intel at launch, while the slightly more affordable 14-core Core Ultra 5 245K is also selling below its MSRP at $269. The Core Ultra 7 265K is arguably the better buy. Yep, at a $31 increase to get 6 extra E-cores. I think it's 6 extra E-cores. The Ultra 7 is the better buy. This is likely part of a small promotional sale, which is why we're seeing the term discount instead of permanent price cuts. Even so, they don't appear to be regional, as reports from ComputerBase indicate similar pricing trends in Germany. Intel's candidate is a great choice for promoting Arrow Lake sales, since the Core Ultra 7 265K wields an impressive 28P 12E core 20-thread configuration, rivaling the i7 14700K from the previous generation while offering better efficiency. CPU carries 66 megabytes of total cache, sticking to GDEC compliant speeds. Arrow Lake at stock can handle 6400 megatransfers DDR5 memory kits at CUDA, going as fast as 8000 megatransfers per second with Intel's warranted boost profiles. As of writing, the Core Ultra 7 265K and its KF variant can be purchased for $294 on Amazon. The model with the integrated GPU is no-brainer, given its built-in XELG, the Alchemist iGPU, offers quick sync functionality with AV1 encoding. Man, the elephant in the room is the platform cost. LGA 1851 platform still carries costly entry points, so yeah, that is true. The motherboards aren't really that cheap. But you can't make the argument of DDR5 because DDR5 is effectively a lot cheaper than it was at first. There's no comments to this one. How long are we into the stream so far? We are 43 minutes roundabout. There are 41 minutes that we've been covering articles for. RTX 5060 launches May 19 on desktop and laptop, priced from $299 to $1,099 respectively. This is AMD's most affordable 50 series GPU so far. The RTX 5060 officially arrives on May 19 in desktop and laptop formats starting at 9 AM PT at your favorite PC retailer. According to Nvidia, the graphics card... I can feel a sneeze coming in. Okay, never mind, it went away. The graphics card will start at $299, while the most affordable laptop equipped with this GPU begins at $1,099. The RTX 5060 is the most affordable desktop and laptop 50 series GPU which the company has announced. Although we've seen rumors of a more affordable RTX 5050 surface in various documents and filings, I still doubt that it's going to be released. I think it will be released with the super launch maybe. Nvidia's mainstream offering will launch for consumers just a day before Computex and about a day after the the RX 9060 XT is reportedly set to go on sale. It's also priced somewhat competitively, retaining the $299 launch price of the previous generation 4060. This will make it $70 cheaper than the 5060 Ti 8GB and $130 more affordable than the 5060 Ti 16GB. However, it's still $50 more than the Intel Arc B580, which has 12GB of GDDR6 VRAM, and we're unsure if it will be widely available at MSRP. After all, we've had some difficulty finding other RTX 50 series GPUs at MSRP, so why would this be any different? At the same time, that B580 is hovering around like $230 most of the time, if you can even find the thing. The company claims... What's going on? The company claims that the GeForce 5060 will offer double the performance of the previous generation in games with DLSS 4 multi-frame generation. Is this comparing this to with frame generation? Because if it's double and you quadruple the frame rate, so you have to divide by 4, which puts you at half the frame rate of a 4060. That is... they need to add more clarity to that. However, this will only truly reflect in the latest titles compatible with this tech. If your favorite game is a bit older or does not support the latest version of the DLSS, the performance gains you might see will likely be a bit more modest. Absolutely, it will probably be like 20%. Still, if you're eager to buy a mainstream GPU for your system, you should just wait for trusted reviews to drop before making a purchase decision. That way you're getting a full picture of the GPU you can offer, and may even see some comparison test against the competition. After all, you don't want to spend your hard-earned money on a problematic graphics card or one that won't perform well with your PC. For example, the 5060 Ti 8GB has some notable performance drops when attached to PCIe 4.0. We've seen that in a previous article, and that was because of switching from onboard VRAM to system DRAM on selected titles, so this is something you'd want to watch out for. It's not much there. The world's first encrypted 26TB hard disk debuts with diskAshur DT3 and DT2 models. So I thought this would be interesting because I am looking into creating a little home NAS, if eventually at some point. And part of doing that would be seagulls. It would either be like making one from a PC, or just buying a NAS case and then just buying the hard drives that I need for it. A secure data manufacturer, iStorage, has announced new versions of its encrypted desktop hard drives, the diskAshur DT3 and the diskAshur DT2. Both drives offer PIN authorization, hardware level encryption. They will now be available with up to 26TB of capacity, making them suitable for users looking for high capacity storage with enhanced security features. The diskAshur DT3 is notably the world's first encrypted hard drive, currently undergoing certification with FIPS 140-3 Level 3, an updated US standard for cryptographic security. For context, FIPS 140-2 certified drives like the diskAshur DT2 are currently the standard for securing sensitive data across sectors like the government, defense, finance, and healthcare. However, FIPS 140-2 is expected to be phased out by September 2026 in favor of FIPS 140-3. The new standard is said to offer improved security features such as tamper resistance, enhanced encryption, better key management, and protection against side channel attacks, at the same time aligning with global regulations like GDPR and HIPAA. So these are really good little drives that they have going for them. iStorage first introduced the diskAshur DT3 and DT2 models last year, initially offering capacities of up to 24 terabytes. With DT3 comes equipped with USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type-C port, and it delivers read and write speeds of up to 290 megabytes per second and 284 megabytes per second respectively. The DT2, while using a USB 3.1 Type-B connection, is only marginally slower, with read speeds of 286 megabytes per second and 278 megabytes per second. For the pricing, the DT3 starts at $247 for 2 terabytes, going up to 1.814 thousand US dollars for the new 26 terabyte version. The diskAshur DT2 starts at 4 terabytes at $309 US, and the 26 terabyte capacity model priced at $1,541 US. This is huge because for my case I just need like maybe 10 terabytes. So at that point a NAS isn't really needed. But what I would appreciate of a NAS is the expandability of, in the event that I might need more storage than 10 terabytes. But fundamentally I don't think that I'll need more than 10 terabytes. It is possible that I might in the future, but for the most part I don't see myself needing that much. So this is a live my week with Linux. I'm dumping Windows for Ubuntu to see how it goes. So I just wanted to have a look at this because I myself am thinking about transitioning from Linux to from Windows to Linux. I don't see myself staying very long on Windows, and one of the things that held me back was things like Microsoft Office and gaming itself. But with Steam OS on the horizon, I might switch over to that when it comes, and then just use Google Docs and Google Sheets, Google Slides, and all the Google framework. I'll just end up using that. But Ubuntu is probably the biggest API of Linux, and rightfully so. It's a pretty good alternative for the most part. Among the rest, about 4% run Linux. So wait, so there's more than a billion PCs, around 71% run Windows on them, and the 4% runs Linux. And there's tens of millions of people with Ubuntu, Mint, Debian, etc. as the desktop operating system. Windows 11 has become more annoying as it shoves ads for Xbox Game Pass in my face, pushes AI features no one asked for, demands that I reconsider the choices I made before installing on a regular basis. So I learned something. If you disable BitLocker encryption, you can have to wait a fair bit amount of time for Windows to decrypt your drive completely. Now you can shut down or reboot during the decryption process. What you cannot do is install Linux into dual boot until the drive is completely decrypted. In my opinion, Ubuntu would be more Windows-like experience. The KDE desktop was designed to hide much less of the details from the user, unlike Genome and others. I have been interested in Mint though. Any of the modern full-featured distros will do the trick. Mint is an easy choice, as are the Ubuntu variants. I would recommend against a lesser supported, well-known distro in case you get more adventurous. Man, I can't read today. Until you get more. Seriously, bro. You're gonna have to refresh like that until you get more familiar with the new OS. Aside from games and other specific apps, I would be surprised if you see any real difference in actual usage between Windows and Linux. Things just work. That is very much correct. The Sandy Bridge era motherboard gets M.2 SSD, boot support 12 years after launch, first new BIOS in decade for decommissioned motherboard. This is just a funny thing to see, really, that something as old as Sandy Bridge is getting M.2 support. I'm more interested in what comments have to say. Nope, never mind. So it's not really that much going on in the article now that I'm actually reading it. But in any case, a Chinese netizen found that manufacturers often fail to promote these new features. Notably, Gigabyte has seemingly updated the 13-year-old B75M-3DH motherboard to support booting from M.2 NVMe SSDs, a previously unavailable function. Introduced in 2012, the motherboard previously unavailable function. Introduced in 2012, the motherboard featured the B75 chipset designed to support Intel's 2nd gen Sandy Bridge and clearly the motherboard is beyond its end of life status. Very much correct. I just think it's interesting that something like that has shown up. But moving on, Nvidia is to drop CUDA support for Maxwell, Pascal, and Volta GPUs with the next major Toolkit release. So the official release notes of the CUDA 12.9 Toolkit explicitly indicated that next major release will no longer support Maxwell, Pascal, and Volta-based GPUs. Note that this deprecation, is only limited to the compute side, as these GPUs will likely continue receiving normal GeForce drivers for the time being. That being said, it's likely the last SKD version that can be used to develop CUDA applications targeting the aforementioned architectures. Previous releases hinted at this change. Nvidia's stronger wording now serves as a definitive signal for developers to shift to more modern architectures. CUDA 12 series will still allow application development for these GPUs. The deprecation targets offline compilation and library support. Essentially, future CUDA compilers will lack the ability to generate machine code compatible with these GPUs. In the same vein, upcoming versions of CUDA accelerated libraries like QBLAS and DNN will not only support for CPUs built with these architectures. Nvidia has not specified the exact date for the upcoming major release. Then here's the statement on the side. So this is expected because Pascal is the next GPU's generation to no longer receive updates to the GeForce drivers. So it makes sense that you will see those GPUs not get CUDA support. Microsoft announces colorful new 12-inch Surface Pro and 13-inch Surface laptop with Snapdragon X Plus. I just need like not even 4 minutes, like 2 minutes will be fine. I'll be back in a second. am back. Actually, I need like a 2 seconds over here. All right. Here we go. That's a better look. All right. So yeah. So I've been on the talk for a while with regards to using tablets over laptops. So this is in the tablet tab, so I'm going to assume these are tablet laptops. And let's have a look. So Microsoft has new flagship AI PCs. They need to stop doing that. They really do. The company today announced a 13-inch Surface laptop and a 12-inch Surface Pro with Qualcomm's Snapdragon X Plus 8-core processors. These new Copilot Plus PCs will be available starting May 20th, while business versions will ship on July 2022. Both systems share similar specs, including 16 GB of RAM, up to 512 GB of SSD storage, though the Pro has faster, higher resolution display than the laptop, and comes with Windows Hello support in the webcam, which the laptop relegates to the fingerprint reader. Honestly, fingerprint reader over the webcam any day. So we got the 12-inch and the 13-inch, same CPU and same NPU, GPU seems to be the same, RAM the same, storage will be the same, display is the only difference, but both displays are touchscreen. The size is obviously different, webcam. So the 12-inch Surface Pro is the one that has the Hello webcam, that's 10 megapixel rear-facing web camera. Wi-Fi 7 in both, Bluetooth 5.4 in both, wall charge included is a no, but this uses USB-C, and I think it's a 27-watt charger that you need. And this one does come with it. And without the keyboard you get $799, which is actually pretty good. I would rather just buy the tablet and the keyboard separate from one another, if I'm being completely honest. The Surface Pro 11th edition and Surface Laptop 7th edition, which debuted last year with Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite and Snapdragon X Plus processors, each starting at $799 US as of the writing. Unless the prices for these more powerful models go up, potential buyers may want to consider one of these more powerful systems if they don't care about having the thinnest, lightest designs. It's possible that the Snapdragon X Plus 8-core models are priced higher due to tariffs, but Microsoft hasn't commented. I think it's partly, but also because Microsoft's greedy. But what I like about the tablets is that they are up to par compared to laptops now. And if you really need business, then need one for business, then just go with a tablet. You can get a Bluetooth keyboard of choice, a Bluetooth mouse of choice, and you'll be set. You don't really need a laptop anymore, and especially when you need portability, right? Because sure, you can have a 13-inch or 14-inch laptop or 15.6-inch laptop, but a 12-inch tablet is just as fine. And the fact of the matter is that not only is it just as fine, it's light and it carries similar specs to the laptop, so you might as well take the tablet then. The new Surface laptop now claims to be the thinnest, lightest Surface laptop to date, more straightforward update, but smaller than existing Surface laptop, which comes in 13.8 inches and a 15-inch screen sizes. Copilot Plus. That will show up in the Windows Insider builds over the next month. These include an update to settings that let you use natural language to search for and change settings on your PC. There will also be a new AI-based snipping tool to perfectly crop screenshots, a sticker generator in Paint for chats or documents, and more contacts to narrator for better image descriptions. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, Copilot, unless it uses the NPU, it's really going to be a waste. Moving on. Aztec's key water cooling patent expires today as the company seeks to sell its cooling business. Having patented a simple yet efficient design of a closed-loop liquid cooling system that integrates the pump into the CPU water block in 2005 and successfully protects its IP for 20 years, Aztec has become the world's leading OEM producer of all-in-one liquid coolers. However, the patent expires on May 6, 2025 today, and thus Aztec loses its key advantage in the PC market. Potentially some clients, reports Heist. Coincidentally, last month the company said it had received notification of interest in its liquid cooling business. The patent in question in Denmark, also known under the US number so-and-so, was instrumental in defining the architecture of all-in-one liquid coolers for enthusiast-grade PCs. Due to Aztec's legal strategy, many competitors were sued for being similarly designed approaches. As a result, while most products from various brands were built on this design principle, either through licensing agreements as a result of legal pressure, or by Aztec itself, and then sold under other brands. Very few makers such as AlphaCool and EK Waterblocks attempted to build all-in-one liquid coolers differently. However, Canadian manufacturer Coolite was among several companies offering significant alternative solutions, but had to reach an undisclosed settlement with Aztec after disputes. We're having AIO stirs happening as well. How long are we into this? We are about an hour and 10 minutes. It's pretty good right now. Okay, let's have another look. Let's go to video cards for now. I'll check for any last minute articles before that, before wrapping up. Okay, so we have the company behind foldable keyboard PC now teases AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus Strix Halo systems. So Ling Long teases new Strix Halo based product. And over here you can see the image of it. And I suspect that when they had close inspection they were suspecting it's Strix Halo. According to Chinese media, the company behind the AMD powered foldable keyboard computer, the Ryzen 7 8840U, is now preparing to launch a device with significantly faster processor. Although there has been no official announcement from Ling Long regarding the Ryzen AI 300 Strix Point APU, which could match the profile of the low-power, ultra-thin PC the company previously proposed, they appear to be working on something more powerful. The Strix Halo-powered 16X Zen 5 cores and 40 RDNA 3.5 compute units is reportedly being used in development of a noticeably larger device. The company posted a video on social media showing the new board design, possibly for a small form factor PC without any chassis. Over here you can see it in all its glory. Over here you can see the CPU cooler as well. One of the screenshots featured a fan that does not appear to be part of the final design. It's likely just a prototype board for a mini PC. While there is no ATX power connectors, there is definitely not a 24 volt ATX design, but rather something intended for low power operation. It's highly unlikely the system would be used in a new keyboard PC unless the company is also developing an ultra thin cooling for a 120 watt TDP, which will require a significantly larger keyboard, similar in size to older designs like the Atari systems. The only confirmed specification so far is the 96 GB of memory configuration. Unlike most Halo's PCs that support 128 GB, this system is limited to 96 GB despite the prototype board showing 32 GB memory chips. Most likely LPDDR5X. The message clearly states up to 96 GB. In any case, the APU confirmed to be the Max Plus 395, a top tier Halo product. Now it's crazy how we don't have any laptop with Strix Halo, but there are plenty of known Chinese brands making products with this APU. The reason couldn't be temperatures because Halo is inside a freaking tablet. Also it couldn't be money because every product with it costs 2,000 plus US dollars, and couldn't be lack of interest because every mini PC announced with Strix Halo is selling and even selling out. I wonder why. Clearly some kind of a mini PC, also AIO PC attempt. Makes sense because there isn't one with Halo APU. Only one important question remains: is AMD AI Ryzen Max Plus system foldable? Maybe AIO monitor with a built-in 395 plus Max, and then paired with the 8840U keyboard. I suspect this will probably be a mini PC. Everything about this board is showing mobile components, such as I'm assuming is the mini 4-pin fan connector, and there's just more mini connectors in general on the board. Also the way that it's displayed is showing a front and a back, which is more than likely going to be in a mini PC of sorts. It's interesting to see. Very interesting development. So the second trailer of GTA 6 has been released after it's been delayed to May of 2026, unfortunately. And here's some pictures, I guess. And it looks good. Like looking at these screenshots. Damn, bro, why are you taking so long to switch from one picture to another? But yeah, it looks good. I mean, this crocodile looks good. And you can see that it's very populated at the same time. The game is... there's a ton of NPCs in the area. It's not like GTA 5 that was very sparse. And it's not like Red Dead Redemption 2 that, while more on the denser side, it's more dense than Red Dead Redemption 2 was. Here you can see there's some more decently populated as well. What I do wonder is the uniqueness in NPC designs. So what I mean by this is, how unique are NPCs from one another in terms of appearance? And what do they do to differentiate from one another to be a more diverse population? Oh, here we can see the wildlife. Probably going to have a hunting mission or two. This looks really good. This looks insanely good. This looks real. But obviously darker pictures of a later time in the day would look more realistic. So that's to be expected. And I'm not so much reading the article, I'm also just reacting to the pictures that it has. And there isn't much said. in the article itself, but regardless, it's a pretty good, it's looking pretty good so far. As for the next article, we have Nvidia GeForce RTX 5060 GPUs for desktop and laptop officially launch on May 19th. So we do have a confirmed launch date. We do have the confirmed 8GB GDDR7 and everything else in that regard. So desktop and laptop variants will be released worldwide at exactly 9 AM Pacific time. So that is something to keep in mind. I'll probably stream a lot of CES videos, just reacting to other YouTubers and what they have, because at the end of the day I think it'll be quite beneficial to have a look at what content is being covered on YouTube at CES. I'll probably keep it to the first party sites over the third party PC community videos until like a day or two, just so that they can get traction in the to be fair, I'm not going to be stealing views, but at the end of the day I just do it in good faith to wait a day or two before I look at those videos. So again, we have the specs out with the 5060 non-Ti. Game changer doesn't always mean good. That's very true. This is something I actually want to read. So AMD confirms Zen 3 Plus Rembrandt APU with Navi graphics are tested on AM5 socket. So 6000G could have been a thing. AMD confirms to have tested Zen 3 Plus APUs. So my understanding is that the Zen 3 Plus was going to be on AM4, but they wanted DDR5 support, and since it wasn't on laptops, this is now non-G, they wanted the G variants to probably be on AM5 as well at a later time. But that didn't actually come to fruition, sadly enough. We go back to 2023, some of you might remember a major leak on Gigabyte servers, leaving the information all over the internet, but not many people chose to download the files due to concerns about potential malware. Tom's Hardware, which reviewed the files, reported that some of them referenced an AMD Rembrandt design for the AM5 socket. So Rembrandt uses RDNA 2, which is a substantial improvement over the Vega graphics that was used in the 5000G CPUs, which is one of the reasons why I went for a 6900HX in the first place, outside of the 69 meme. AMD has now confirmed that at some point they were testing Zen 3 Plus processors on a 6nm node for the AM5 desktop socket. It turns out that recent discovery at the Technical Information Portal confirms the existence of AM5 functional test vehicle based on this architecture. AMD confirmed that this was Zen 3 Plus processor with Navi graphics, and the 19H family matches that of Rembrandt. Although AMD never launched this product for consumers, if someone ever comes across a prototype with the specification, it's now confirmed that such hardware did exist. Apparently AMD is expected to launch its next-gen APUs based on Strix Point AM5-based Gorgon Point series featuring Zen 5 and RDNA 3.5. Will succeed the Phoenix-based series with Zen 4 and RDNA 3. Some believe the update will be announced around Computex later this month. It's interesting to see that while they're good at keeping AM4 alive, they're limiting their features. I mean, there's no AM4 APU with updated video engine that supports AV1. That is true if they could have an An AM4 CPU with RDNA3 integrated graphics, that would be nice. Why for AM5 and not AM4? Because Radeon is a DDR5 platform. And my theory is that it would have been too good. Still stand by that Zen 3 Plus is a perfect AMD office use arc for balance between performance cost and good enough performance per watt that upgrading past it would be like Zen 5 to Zen 6. Even regular consumers, my 5800X isn't showing any signs of being dated, but there's nothing it can't chew. It's a okay thing to skip porting Rembrandt to desktop. They jump from Vega to RDNA 3.5 on 8000G was nice, but it was hindered by the performance price of the PCI. I'm assuming PCIe and overall platform. It also okay skip 6 points for desktop, as we really need those 6 Halo I GPUs to be the next forward for desktop APUs. 8060S and 8050S look very interesting and could make AMD the de facto starter PC for everyone if they price it accordingly. It can take away big chunks of market away from Intel if they do it right. AMD shot themselves in the foot making 6 Halo a high dollar LM focused platform. 6 Halo can't be ported to AM5, it only works with solid DDR5, DDR5X. Now even LPC M.2 is good enough, as very few PCIe lanes after memory interface could have been deactivated. It would also be heavily redesigned because it uses over 2000 pins, several hundred more than the AM5 has. That's interesting to note. I didn't know that part. Can have another look over here. What is the time? Oh, we're reaching 7 o'clock. This is a good breaking point actually. I'll keep these available for tomorrow. And let me just check if there's another article. Okay, already went over that one. So yeah, I'll probably end things right here. And then cover everything tomorrow at 12. I'm saying 12, I might start after 12 again, but it will be around about 12 in the afternoon, Central South African time. And probably do a second stream by 6 PM Central South African time again. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you're watching on YouTube, you'd like to be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next